Well, good morning. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. Really glad you could join me today out here in the vegetable garden. Well, you know, it's now fall season here in Pennsylvania, Zone 6. And so today I thought we would go harvest some of my Gypsy broccoli from the garden. So thanks for joining me today. So I have here my garden journal or garden log that I always encourage gardeners to have, you know, keep records from year to year. And it really helps your garden season be a lot more profitable and enjoyable because you can write down all your failures and successes from year to year. Well, anyhow, here I planted my Gypsy broccoli August 3rd. And, you know, Gypsy broccoli, it's a shorter growing period. It's got like 58 days for maturity. It's more heat tolerant than some other varieties, and it has a nice well-shaped head on the broccoli. And you know, the broccoli likes a fertile, well-drained soil. And so right now it's fall season here and my broccoli is ready to harvest. So let's go out to the garden and remove some of those row covers they've been growing under and check out these beautiful looking broccoli heads. So follow me along. So these broccoli are right here to my left. Good morning, Bailey. He's joining us out here in the garden today. He's a good boy. And so here in our Plant Smart Living gardens, we still have some green bell peppers over there. This is our broccoli here under the row cover that we're going to be harvesting today. But in the back section there, I still have some hot peppers there and some Swiss chard and some sweet potatoes in the ground. But let's take a little closer look. This is the broccoli here under this row cover, and I had planted 18 broccoli plants or transplants here under this row cover. So my wife and I, we've really been looking forward to having some fresh broccoli here from our garden, and so let's get started removing these row covers from the garden here. And so I'm going to go around taking and removing some of these bricks here. A few more in the back section here to remove. And you know, I always encourage gardeners to be proactive in their garden, you know, not reactive. You know, don't wait until the bugs and pests, you know, the aphids or your cabbage, looper worm, you know, don't wait till they attack your broccoli or your cauliflower or your cabbage or your mustard greens. You know, the looper worm, they like the brassica family. And so I have learned over the years to be proactive in my garden, you know, take preventive measures up front. Takes a little bit more time, a little bit more money, a little bit more effort, but you know, you don't have to worry about pests and aphids and worms in your broccoli especially. You can protect them up front, and it really makes your garden season a lot more enjoyable. At least it does for me. And so let's start removing these row covers here. And so I just have this section here to do. I see a few little holes in the leaves here, but for the most part the row covers did a really good job, and so looking forward to harvesting these broccoli. Now I just use my, let's call it a Sierra saw. It's a nice folding saw. I used to use this when I was camping, but it has nice sharp teeth on it, and I use this to cut the broccoli. And so you know, you just want to cut the stalk off, and you know, it'll continue, this gypsy broccoli will continue to produce side shoots, you know. And broccoli is a cool weather plant, and so, you know, it really thrives really well out here in the cold weather. So let's take a closer look at some of these beautiful and delicious broccoli plants. I also grow these broccoli plants in my composted leaf mulch that's amended with topsoil, and I also add my alfalfa pellets throughout the season to add a nice balanced nutrient to the soil. But you can see that there's really not too many holes taken out or bites taken out of these leaves. Also, what I did is I created a low tunnel hoop house. You know, here I used these 1/2-inch rigid pieces of conduit that you can get at a home center. You can also use the 1/2-inch PVC conduit, and these are only a couple dollars a piece. They're really not that expensive. And when you cover these, you know, my rolls of row cover or spun bonded polyester, they're 11 feet wide. You want to make sure they're at least 10 or 11 feet wide to cover these hoops. You could also just lay these row covers right over your plants, and as the plants grow, it'll just lift up the lightweight row cover. And these are really easy to install. They're spaced anywhere from 4 to 5 feet apart. You know, and also remember, you know, nothing goes to waste on these broccoli plants. Every part of it's edible, you know, from the stalk and the leaves. You know, these leaves are very similar to collard green leaves, and so they're very edible, very nutritious for us. You can steam these, you can use them in soups. You know, my wife and I, we like making a potato soup using the potatoes from our garden, and then we add some broccoli in there, and we just love our fresh broccoli. So anyhow, let me grab my Sierra saw and we'll start harvesting a few of these broccoli heads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the broccoli plant down at the very base of the stalk. Typically, again, you just want to cut it about midway up, but I'm going to cut the whole plant out of there so we can just take a closer look at it. So we can see what a nice healthy plant looks like. You know, again, when you plant most of the vegetables in your garden, you want to make sure that the soil's nice and loose and friable. You know, the looser the soil, the more your roots of the plant are going to reach far and wide. And as a result of that, they're going to receive and take up more nutrients from the soil, you know, resulting in a larger, healthier plant. And, you know, they're also less prone to disease when they're nice and healthy. And so this is the one broccoli plant here. You can see how nice and thick this stalk is on this plant. And the leaves are pretty good size leaves here. And you also want to make sure that this broccoli plants, you know, that they receive a good 6 to 8 hours of sunlight to grow. You know, the more the better. And so let's set this on the table here and cut this broccoli head off the stalk. Bailey's also enjoying his broccoli leaves, aren't you? Very healthy for him. What I'm going to do is grab our Longaberger basket. You know, I use my wife's Longaberger baskets in most of my videos when I harvest my fruits and vegetables from the garden, and I had someone make a comment that they were surprised that we were using these expensive Longaberger baskets, and I mentioned that to my wife, but anyhow, we thought it was kind of funny, because these things are very durable, and so I think even using them out in the garden is kind of nice, and I'm not worried about ruining these. It's nice just to be able to have them to use them out in the garden. But anyhow, what I'm going to do first is just pick off some of these leaves because we're going to, we're not going to let these go to waste. You can even blanch these and then freeze them too over the winter. But anyhow, I'm going to pick off most of these leaves from the stalk here, and then we'll cut this up. But if you were to cook the stalks, you don't want to cook these a little bit longer because they are a little bit thicker. But I even like some of these small tender leaves. The smaller they are, the more tender they are. And of course, I also just love picking off little chunks of broccoli and eating them right from the garden. And so I think we have most of the leaves off of there. Now we can get a better look at the stalk there. And you can see it's a nice size head that we have here on that broccoli. And so I'm going to take my Sierra saw, and then we're going to cut this broccoli stalk. And so I think I'll cut it right about here. You see it cuts the broccoli stalk really well. And so there you go, we have a nice harvest of broccoli. So I ended up getting these broccoli transplants from a raised nursery nearby. It ends up costing me $1.60 for a market pack of 6, and so I think it's a really good price. Basically it ends up being about 30 cents a head when everything's, all said and done. And broccoli's something pretty easy to grow. Let me encourage you to think about growing broccoli in your garden. You can also grow broccoli in the early spring and also in the late fall, so you can get 2 harvests of broccolis throughout the season. And again, they're very highly nutritious for us. And also, we like steaming our broccoli, and that's another easy way. Or I did a video on how you could also cook this in your Instapot, and so it cooks them really fast in the Instapot and does a good job. I also remember years back when I didn't grow these under the row covers, when I went to harvest them, there were worms in the broccoli head. They were just all over the place, and so that was kind of something that really grosses you out. And so again, that was another reason I end up using row covers for my cover my brassica plants, and being proactive in your garden, as I was mentioning earlier in the video. Well, anyhow, I hope you enjoyed harvesting these broccoli out here in the garden. I only decided to harvest 1 head of broccoli today because I like keeping the broccoli heads fresh from the garden each day as we harvest them. And so anyhow, if you have any questions or comments about this video, feel free to leave them in the section below. And also, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so you could receive future videos. And you can also join us at plantsmartliving.com. Well, anyhow, I just want to thank you for joining me out in the garden today. I hope you have a wonderful day. So until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.